Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Always fun to dive in.
Today, we're taking a look at Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and we're really going to explore how this idea of understanding your why can lead to, well, greater success and even fulfillment in life, not just in business.
Yeah, it's not just about selling more widgets.
Right. And the core idea, as Sinek lays it out, is pretty simple. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
But putting it into practice,
Yeah, putting it into practice.
that can be the tricky part.
Definitely. So to kick things off, Sinek tells this great story about the race to build the first airplane.
Oh yeah, the Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers versus Samuel Langley.
Langley seemed like he had everything going for him, right? I mean, a well-connected professor.
Government funding.
The Wright brothers were just
Bicycle mechanics.
from Ohio.
But it was the Wright brothers who made that historic first flight.
They did. And Sinek argues that the difference maker wasn't their resources.
It was their motivation.
Exactly. Langley was driven by fame and fortune, the what of the achievement.
And the Wright brothers were just obsessed with the idea of flight.
The why.
And that intrinsic motivation,
The pure passion.
yeah,
Yeah.
allowed them to overcome all these obstacles and achieve what so many people thought was impossible.
I mean, it's a classic underdog story.
It is. So how does this idea of starting with why apply to someone who's maybe not trying to invent a flying machine?
Well, think about it. Have you ever bought something, maybe you even spent a little more than you planned to,
Oh, yeah,
because you really believed in what the company stood for?
totally. Like that local coffee shop that gives a percentage of their profits to like an environmental cause.
There you go.
It might be $1 more, but it feels good to support them.
Right. You're not just buying coffee, you're buying into their why.
Yeah.
And Sinek argues that's what sets apart truly inspiring companies and leaders.
Because most companies compete on the,
Price, features, quality.
and those things definitely matter,
They do.
but they don't inspire.
Not that same kind of loyalty.
It's like those car rebates that seem so tempting, but then you read the fine print,
Oh, yeah.
and it's all these hoops you have to jump through.
That's just manipulation.
Yeah.
It might get you to buy the car.
But it doesn't build a lasting connection.
Think about a company like Southwest Airlines.
Okay. Yeah.
They're not just selling cheap flights.
They're championing the cause of the everyday traveler.
Exactly. So how do companies figure out their why in the first place?
Yeah, that seems a little fuzzy.
Well, Sinek introduces this framework.
Okay.
It's called the Golden Circle,
Okay.
and it's made up of 3 concentric circles: why, how, and what.
Why, how, what? Okay.
And most companies, they communicate from the outside in what they do, how they do it, and maybe, if you're lucky, why they do it.
So they lead with the features,
The nuts and bolts.
but not the heart of the matter.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But truly inspiring companies and leaders, they communicate from the inside out.
They start with why.
Their purpose,
Okay.
and then they explain how they bring that to life.
And then finally what they actually offer.
Makes sense, right?
It does, and I'm starting to see how this framework can be applied beyond just business.
It's about authentic communication.
Yeah, how does this golden circle idea work in our brains, though?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Sinek connects the golden circle to the biology of the brain.
Okay.
The why corresponds to the limbic system, which is all about emotions and decision-making.
Oh,
And what corresponds to the neocortex, which handles rational thought and language.
so our gut feelings and our rational explanations live in different parts of our brains.
Yay.
It's wild.
That explains a lot.
And that's why many companies have a hard time articulating their why,
Because they're trying to explain something that's deeply emotional.
using logic and language.
Yeah, like trying to describe falling in love.
With a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we figure out our why? Is there a tool or something we can use?
Sinek offers something called the celery test.
Okay.
So imagine someone whose why is healthy living
Okay.
at the grocery store.
They're only buying rice, milk, and celery.
All right.
Not the most exciting diet,
No.
but it illustrates their core belief
Mm.
and it filters all their decisions.
So it's like a gut check. Does this choice align with my deepest values?
Exactly.
Or am I being swayed by something else?
And that's how you start building authenticity.
Okay.
The celery test helps you clarify your belief system
Mhm.
and communicate it clearly.
And then that attracts like-minded people.
You got it.
That makes a lot of sense.
So are you ready to apply the celery test to your own life?
I think so, but we'll have to save that for next time.
Sounds good to me.
We're just getting started with start with why.
There's a lot more to uncover.
So make sure to join us for part 2 of this deep dive.
We'll see you then. So, we were talking about competition,
Mm-hmm.
and Sinek introduces this really interesting concept.
Okay.
He calls it the new competition.
The new competition.
Yeah, and it challenges this whole idea that We have to, like, beat everyone else.
So are we supposed to become hermits and avoid the marketplace?
Not exactly. It's more about shifting the focus
Okay.
from external competition to internal competition.
So instead of trying to be better than everyone else.
You're striving to be better than you were yesterday.
I like that. And Sinek uses the story of Ben Coman
Oh, yeah.
to illustrate this point.
That's a powerful story.
He was a runner with cerebral palsy who never won a race
But he inspired millions.
by competing against his own limitation.
Exactly. He wasn't focused on the other runners.
He was driven by his own why.
To show the world that anything is possible.
And even though he didn't cross the finish line first, he touched so many lives.
With his determination.
It's just such a powerful example. It takes the pressure off of external validation,
And puts the focus back on personal growth.
pushing your own boundaries,
It's about finding that fulfillment in the process of becoming the best version of yourself.
not just chasing those external rewards.
Or recognition.
This is really making me think, what would it look like if more companies embrace this idea of the new competition?
Imagine a world where business is focused on constant improvement and innovation,
Driven by their own internal why.
rather than just trying to outdo the competition.
It seems like that would lead to a more collaborative environment,
Less cutthroat.
where everyone is striving for excellence on their own terms.
I think so, and I think it would probably result in better products and services.
That genuinely benefit consumers
Because people are drawn to companies that have a clear sense of purpose.
and are constantly striving to evolve.
Right. It's about authenticity.
Speaking of authenticity, Sinek talks about how symbols can embody a set of values.
And beliefs?
He uses the example of Harley-Davidson tattoos,
Oh, yeah.
which demonstrate this incredible brand loyalty.
It's amazing how a symbol can become so intertwined with a person's identity.
It's like they're not just buying a motorcycle,
They're buying into a lifestyle
a community, a set of values that resonate with them.
on a deep level.
It's like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
It's a way of saying, this is who I am and this is what I believe in.
And Sinek points out that these powerful symbols, they emerge organically.
When an organization clearly communicates its why,
You can't just manufacture it.
it has to be rooted in a genuine why.
That resonates with people.
It's not enough to just slap a logo on something and hope it becomes meaningful.
Right. The why has to come first.
Then the symbols will naturally follow.
But, as companies grow and achieve success, it can be tough to maintain that clear sense of why.
So how do you prevent that from happening?
Well, Sinek talks about something he calls the split.
The split.
Yeah, it's about this tension that can arise
Okay.
between achieving success and feeling successful.
So you can be successful without feeling successful.
It happens more often than you think. He tells this story about a gathering of super successful entrepreneurs
Okay.
at MIT.
Like the top of their game.
By all outward appearances, they had achieved everything.
Living the dream.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But many of them confessed to feeling unfulfilled, lost, even empty, despite all their achievements.
Wow. So they attained success but didn't feel successful.
It's a common problem.
It seems counterintuitive.
But Sinek argues that it happens because of a shift in focus
Okay.
that occurs as companies grow.
How so?
They might start with a clear why.
But then as they get bigger,
The focus shifts to the
hitting targets, maximizing profits, expanding market share,
and in that process, they lose sight of the passion.
and the original purpose gets lost.
It becomes more about external validation,
Then about staying true to the initial why.
and that's where the split happens.
So how do you prevent the split?
Well, to address this, Sinek introduces another concept.
Okay, more concepts.
He calls this one the school bus test.
The school bus test. I'm starting to sense a pattern here.
He does like his tests.
He does. So what's the school bus test all about?
Well, it helps determine if a company's why is deeply embedded in its culture.
Okay.
So the question is, if the founder got hit by a bus,
Okay.
would the company continue to thrive?
With its why intact? Exactly. That's a little morbid.
It is a little bit.
But I get the point.
It's about creating a system that's bigger than any one person
A culture that embodies the founder's why.
and can outlive them,
Creating a legacy.
that goes beyond just the founder's personality,
And ensures that the company's purpose will continue to drive its decisions.
even in their absence.
So how do companies make sure they pass the school bus test?
Well, Sinek gives some examples of companies that have both passed and failed.
Okay.
Think about Microsoft after Bill Gates left.
Yeah, it seemed like they lost their way a little bit.
And then there's Apple after Steve Jobs.
Or Starbucks and their rapid expansion.
And their struggles to maintain their original essence.
Yeah.
These examples highlight the importance of building a culture that truly embodies the founder's why.
So is the key to find a successor who's a carbon copy of the founder?
Not necessarily. It's more about finding someone who's inspired by the original why,
Someone who can lead the company into the future.
without losing sight of what made it special,
Finding a leader who can carry the torch.
and keep that flame burning brightly.
And this applies to more than just businesses, right?
Absolutely. Schools, nonprofits
Even families.
can benefit from clarifying their why.
And weaving it into their culture.
It's about creating that shared sense of purpose,
That guides decisions and actions.
no matter who's in charge.
And that shared purpose
That understanding of why
is what creates lasting impact.
and fulfillment.
It's fascinating how Sinek ties all these concepts together.
It really is a cohesive framework.
But you know, one thing I keep coming back to is how to balance the practical stuff.
The day-to-day.
Like running a business or even managing everyday life.
Right, how do you stay connected to that bigger purpose?
Exactly. How do you keep your eye on the why when you're also dealing with deadlines and budgets and all the nitty-gritty?
Sinek talks about this. He calls it finding your sweet spot.
Okay.
That intersection of your passion, your skills, and what the world needs.
So it's like finding that perfect alignment.
Where you're doing something you love, something you're good at, and something that makes a difference.
You make it sound so easy.
It's not always easy,
No.
but when you find it,
Yeah.
Sinek says work doesn't feel like work anymore.
It becomes a source of energy.
And fulfillment.
It's like you found your calling.
That thing you were put on this earth to do.
I love that. And he gives some great examples.
Of people and organizations that have really found their sweet spot.
Like Apple.
Oh, yeah.
They've always been so passionate about innovation and design
And they've combined that with their technical expertise.
to create these products that have really changed the world.
And they've also been incredibly successful.
Exactly. Because they stayed true to their why.
Even as they've grown into this massive company.
Yeah, they haven't let the pursuit of profit.
Completely overshadow.
Yeah, their passion for creating great products.
It's about finding that balance.
between purpose and profit.
And Sinek argues that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
You can be both profitable and purposeful.
In fact, companies that are driven by a strong why,
They often end up being more successful
in the long run,
because they attract those loyal customers
and employees,
who really believe in what they're doing.
it's a win-win.
Everyone benefits.
And remember this idea of finding your sweet spot.
It's not just for businesses.
It applies to all areas of life,
Whether you're choosing a career or a partner.
or even how you spend your free time,
Yeah, it's about finding those activities that light you up.
that make you feel alive,
It's about designing a life that feels meaningful.
not just going through the motions.
And Sinek reminds us that to really make an impact,
Yeah.
we need to reach those people who are a bit more hesitant.
The ones who are skeptical of new ideas.
Because not everyone's ready to jump on board right away.
And Sinek says it's not about ignoring those folks.
Yeah.
It's actually crucial to reach them.
So how do we do that?
It all starts with building trust.
Because people are more likely to embrace a new idea.
If they trust the person who's sharing it.
That makes sense.
It's like you're more likely to try a new restaurant
If a friend recommends it.
than just seeing an ad.
Exactly.
So you have to establish credibility.
Show that you're the real deal.
And Sinek reminds us that trust is built through consistency,
Authenticity.
keeping your promises,
Walking the walk.
not just talking the talk.
And it's not just about being trustworthy.
You also have to make your idea accessible.
Easy to understand.
Break it down in a way that connects with people's values.
Their needs.
Meet them where they are.
And don't underestimate the power of social proof.
Right. People are more likely to try something.
If they see other people having success with it,
It's about building momentum.
showing that this idea is making a difference.
It's not just about selling a product
It's about sparking a movement.
and leading with your why.
I think I'm starting to get the big picture here.
It all comes back to that.
Finding your why, communicating it authentically,
Building trust.
inspiring others to join you.
That's the heart of Sinek's message.
It's not just a theory
It's a roadmap.
for creating a world where purpose comes first.
And that's something worth striving for.
Well, it's been a truly insightful journey unpacking. Start with why with you.
It really has.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up this deep dive?
Sinek's book offers so much wisdom,
It does.
but I think it boils down to this. Find your why.
Believe in it.
and live it every single day.
That's great advice. And on that note, it's time for us to sign off.
Until next time.
But before we go, I have one final question for you listening.
Oh, I like this.
What's your why? What kind of world do you want to create?
Think about it.
Explore it
Let it guide you.
on your own journey.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep inspiring.